Well, Representative Tlaib and Omar were quick to thank their Democratic colleagues for what they called their outpouring of support. But how far will that support go? There are rumors that a bill might be drafted and brought to the floor to condemn Israel for its refusal to allow Tlaib and Omar to visit Palestine, as their agenda stated. Joining me now is Eric Mandel. He is the director of the Middle East Political Information Network. A lot to discuss, Eric. Good to have you back on the show with us. Firstly, how much of a fallout do you think is to be expected from the way this unfolded in terms of something coming from Congress condemning Israel?
I think that's a real possibility. Remember, the Democrats control the House of Representatives. These women have painted themselves as victims. This press conference was a carefully staged event. One part was to be victims, I think, to lay the groundwork to get the Democratic leadership to be on board for there to be a condemnation of Israel, especially after Ron Dermer, the ambassador, said we were going to invite them in, because of the dignity of their office, if not their policies or them as people. And what they did was they laid out their case again to basically delegitimize Israel. And so I think this is a problem. And with these facts that are going to come up are going to be put into the presidential debates. So they're going to get a lot of legs out of this.
You mentioned facts, Eric, but these congresswomen were stating a lot of factual inaccuracies. I mean, they were making comparisons to Israel as though it is the equivalent of the apartheid regime in South Africa, keeping in mind that in Israel you have Arab-Israeli members of Knesset, members of parliament. So are you surprised that they're not getting pushback on a lot of the false narratives that they've been spewing?
Well, so let's be clear about what these women are advocating. They're advocating for boycott, divestment, sanctions. That is anti-Semitism. And yet, in the House of Representatives, they got something passed that really had no teeth to it. So there's a limit of how far the Democrats want to go here.
So what does it tell you, Eric, that they're making comments like this? They're also making comments like the occupation. They kept on saying the occupation. Didn't specify exactly what they considered to be the occupation. As we know, Israel pulled out of Gaza in 2005. Perhaps the territories in Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, they're referred to as the disputed territories. So are you surprised that they're not getting any kind of pushback from the Democrats on any of these things?
I don't think they're getting pushback because the party has moved, certainly in the presidential primaries, much more to the left. You had many people of the center who started taking much more positions, much more progressive, way away from liberal pro-Israel Zionist positions, and people are afraid to call them out for what's going on. Now, in the end run, whoever's president...
Why are they afraid, Eric?
Because I think the generations that have been raised in the last two generations that have gone through the American academic institutions, where they have been given almost a brainwashing that Israel is colonialistic, apartheid, justified. When you heard these women, people were probably relating to what they said, but there was zero balance in what they said. There was nothing negative about what the Palestinians did, nothing about their incitement, nothing about their terrorism.
Right.
All it was the occupation. Israel's not a democracy. I took notes on the things that they did. It was all identity politics.
Right.
Palestinians.
And yet today, the Palestinian Authority banning LGBTQ activities in the West Bank, and not a word of condemnation from these representatives.
Where were the progressives?
Yeah, we didn't hear anything about that. Eric, we're out of time. Thank you so much, though, Eric Mandel. We appreciate it as always.